Hey, this is Quinn on the Smoky Point, and I've got Chris with me from Bristol Maps, and he's going to go over some of the features on his app, Bristol Maps, and talk about imagery, waypoints, creating groups, so on and so forth, and so we can all have a better understanding how to use it. What do you think we should go over first? I mean, I know setting up a group would be great.
Yeah, no, sounds great. So yeah, right now we've already got it installed and set up. The first thing we got to do is create an account. So we'll head over to the tools page, and since you don't have an account yet, let's go ahead and sign up. And so, yep, now go ahead and just update your vessel name. And that's what will show up to any other group members you have.
Okay, awesome.
And cool, so now we're signed in. On the tools tab, we can see any announcements that's come out. There's a documents page where we can see various just documents related to a couple fisheries here. These are like the typical ADF&G documents you'd see everywhere.
Gotcha.
All the statistical maps, the forecast, and various things like that. And I'll add things as they come out. But then if we want to create a group, we'll go down to the group section, go to new group, then go ahead and
just name it.
Yep.
You know,
then description isn't especially important, but group one. Okay, and so if we want to allow other people to jump in or invite people, we can enable this, and then otherwise display on map of other people in this group. It'll show them on your navigation page when they share their location.
Man,
so
that seems like a nice feature.
yeah, if you want to kind of lock things down, or there's multiple groups, you may know a few people or something, and you can like say you're in a group with like some tenders or something like that. You don't need to see everything all the time.
Right,
So
right.
We'll go ahead and save that. And now we've got it here. And if we wanted to add somebody, we'd go back to that same page via the edit menu. We can invite people. You can invite either by email or their username.
Okay.
They already have had to set up an account, but yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll leave that for now. Otherwise, I can invite myself or something, but I don't know any other usernames right now.
Right, yeah.
But so once we have that group and you've added other people, they will get an invite on their app and it'll say they are pending. And they have to accept the invite on their page, and it will pop up another section when they see that.
Okay.
Then otherwise, once it's set up, you can enable the start location sharing. It'll pop up a little red location shared, just a little bit of a warning. But otherwise from there, I mean, you can share waypoints if you have any. And then same with routes, you can share routes. If you share a route, it'll share all the associated waypoints that you have on it. And then there's a very, very simple chat feature. It is text only, but just kind of simple. If you need to like blast something out to people and just something kind of generic, it's there.
40 miles of jumpers.
Yeah, it's there right about now.
Yeah.
Coming around the corner.
Yeah.
You can enable and disable the labels and things popping up on the navigation page for you.
Okay. Cool. That sounds, there's a few steps, but it's not too hard if you've
Takes a
ever
little
used
setup.
an app or, navigating things before. It shouldn't be too tough. So, okay. And what about those grid lines that a lot of us were using last year?
Yep. Yeah, the grid, I love the grid system, honestly. For some places where you have, everybody knows all the names of the bars, it's all well and good, but even then it's like, oh, are you a mile? Are you 2 miles? Where are you? I can't find you. So in here, there's a grid system. And so you can either just have a generic grid where it's just A through Z with the number associated with it. So grids, rows and columns. Or if you're in a 2 meter group or something like that, and you're just kind of broadcasting in the clear and you don't really want people to be listening in, you have the option to do like a coded grid. This kind of goes back to where I'm at the
Red 45.
Yeah, red 45. So if we go over to advanced settings, scroll down to the map grid. And right now we've enabled the Nushagat grid. Each grid circle is at about 1.5 miles per grid square.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
And then if we want to enable the coded grid, we just enable that. And then this code can be shared between people, and it will create that same exact grid on their plotter.
So we can just make up the code. I mean, and I know the first couple of digits they're locked. You have to have those, but we can just make up 1 2 3 4 5 and or 7 3 2 1 or whatever.
Yep, exactly. So the first three are set by the app, and so 0 is the version number. Right now we're at 0 because it's early. And then the 1.5, that is the 1.5 mile distance between everything. And then the last 3 digits are what your grid lines are. And so right now we have a grid code, and if we go back over to map, we've seen it's redrawn everything, and now it's color coded and kind of randomized where colors all over the place, and the numbers are kind of across. So yeah, you can be at blue 23 and then drop down to green 46, and you can kind of communicate a little bit more.
And hopefully keep the other groups confused.
Yeah, keep everybody guessing. And the way the grid gets laid out is kind of random based on the code you put in. So if you don't like the grid, try changing the code and you'll get a new one based on what you've entered. And then if you want to search for a grid, say somebody says they're in green 49, does exist. And then it will center you right over the green 49.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Good intel. Help me find that. I don't see that. Well, it's just off the tip of the bar. Blah blah blah.
Yep. And now you're using bar names. And everything goes out the window.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, and then you can lay down a waypoint, and this is one of the easiest things, as I recall. Right?
Oh, totally. Yep. So this is dead simple. So if you just double tap somewhere, it'll pop up a little action menu here, and you can select new waypoint, name it. We're at the bar, and it'll pop up. If you tap it, it'll show the label. You can tap it again to hide the label. If you want to see more details about it, you can double tap the label, and you can select a new icon for it, put some descriptions. If you want to hide waypoints, you can change that to display on map or edit the location manually here. Otherwise, say we want to have a nice little broken heart. I had a bad set there one day.
Yeah.
And boom.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice. So, I can see a couple of levels of imagery here, and I think that's because you were setting this up, and you can see an underlying image.
Yep.
So there's how many maps can you put down, or images can you lay down at once, or?
Yeah, so right now, we're looking at the noosh here, and we're looking at 2 different images that are stacked on top of each other. And the top image is set up to have a transparency, so you can see that bottom image. If we go over to the offline imagery page, you can kind of see what we're working with here. So in particular, we have the 2 Nushagak images. These are like my favorite for this scenario, because the bottom one, we leave it fairly opaque here, and that's at a -1 foot tide. And then this top image, we turn up the transparency knob pretty far so that we'll be able to see through it a little bit. And then the 19 and 20 here, that's where the layer is decided. So 19 being closer to 1 has a higher priority, and then 20 will be right below it. And you can change those to whatever you want, however you want to stack things. As I add more imagery, we can insert more. Depending on the images, I typically wouldn't try to stack more than 2 to 3, just because things will, you're starting to lose detail at that point. But when we go back to the image, looking at like the pork chop here, it kind of outlines the 2 images pretty well, where what is showing up in the center here, that is the hold up tide right there, and that's what the bar looks like at about a 1 or 2 foot hold up. And then behind it, this is the outline where it's at a -1. And so you kind of see where you may have water and where you're about to lose water, as you're kind of playing with some of these like in between spots where you can go and play around a little bit.
Right.
I highly recommend everybody play around with it. Just get a feel for what the images look like, what the layering and the transparencies. Find what works best for you. But this past year I added another feature to where this is what I use. This is how I set things up. And so if we select the little magic wand in the upper right corner, we can bring up this page, which is just kind of presets and recommendations, so to speak. So right here we have the Bristol Bay /NOAA, and this is my favorite configuration. And it's pretty similar to what we were just looking at, but we go ahead and click apply. This will overwrite anything that you have currently as far as your configurations go and be like, this is what you get. This is my recommendation. So let's go and enable that. We can see it's turned off quite a few and then left several on that are part of the recommendations. And now we're actually downloading additional maps that were a part of that recommended system.
But not on my unit.
Exactly. And so if we go over to the download page, we can see those kind of churning away here. The Copper River Flats, well, some people want that, some people don't care.
Yeah.
But the one that's really interesting is the Western and Northern Alaska. And that's just a NOAA chart that'll show pretty much all over the place. And it's just a good generic one to have. But yeah, we'll let that kind of churn away a little bit to kind of just show what it would look like. So as we look here, this has a priority of 99, so that's at the bottom of the pile, bottom of the heap. And then we'll turn its transparency super low so that it is like the base bottom image, and you can kind of see it pop through.
Oh yeah.
And depending on how you play with your transparencies, that'll come through more or less. And so that's a little dark, can't really see it very well, but what I think is happening, this one is, we can turn that up a little bit. Maybe turn that up a little bit. Go back here and it kind of pops through a little bit more.
Yeah. That's a better view of it for sure.
And again,
Cool.
like I recommend everybody kind of play around with that. Just get what works for you.
Yeah, cool. Another thing is if you create an account, then you're allowed to save your documents, and when you reuse the account or the app next year, you're going to have all last year's.
Yep, everything should get
waypoints.
saved. Exactly. Yep, everything you can transfer between devices when you sign in.
Okay.
So if you got things on your phone, it'll pop up on your iPad. And I'm adding more and more to that like sync system.
Gotcha.
And then just while we're here, this year adding in AIS data. So if you sign up for an account and you're signed in, that's required just so that you can access the data correctly, and you have internet access. And we've got Starlink here, so it's working great. But we'll have receivers throughout the bay, and it will show up any AIS traffic that's coming through. So it's kind of a nice little side feature to find your tender, look around, see what's going on. If we zoom out, it gets a little cluttered. It's kind of a pain in the butt. So if this is in the way, we can go up to the settings menu here. We scroll down to the AIS setting. We can just disable display AIS labels. Go back. It's a little bit cleaner. You can still see the boats.
Oh yeah.
And if that's still too much for you, you can disable it entirely, and it'll disappear.
Boom. There was a yellow one I thought I just saw.
Yep. Yeah. So as we've all kind of seen, as AIS signals can be a little bit flaky sometimes, especially at distance, things like that. The green, this is an active boat. You've received a signal in the last few minutes, and it's fairly recent. Take everything with a grain of salt because things move around, but after a couple minutes, it'll change the icon to yellow, and that's kind of just indicator of like, we haven't heard from this vessel in a while.
Okay.
And then if we haven't heard for even longer, after about 10 minutes, it'll change it to red, and then
Gotcha.
After that, it'll drop off entirely.
Yeah, and I see there's boat icons and circles.
Yep. And so that's just kind of depending on if they are transmitting a heading or not.
Oh, okay.
Just depends on what their hardware is. Sometimes you'll see a moving circle. Sometimes you'll have a stationary, like, moving icon. And that's just whatever the data they're transmitting that I receive.
Understood. Okay, cool.
And
Well,
and so right now it'll be the new Shigak, Igigik, and kind of in between here and there, and next year it'll be built out substantially more.
Okay.
With better coverage.
Awesome. Well, those are the questions that I had. I appreciate your time for coming over and
absolutely.
Hooking me up, get me set back up here. So, all right. If you guys have any questions, get a hold of Chris.
Yeah.
We're not going to give you his number right now, but
send me an email, chris@bristolmaps.com. Happy to talk about it. If you're a NACNIC for a little bit longer, I'd love to come by and just talk about it and show it off a little bit.
Alrighty. Oh, that we saved that map. Okay, cool.
Perfect.
We hope to see you folks on the water. Thanks. Okay, let's shut this up.